You're sitting at a dinner table, surrounded by people, laughing so loudly the glasses shake a little every time someone tells a joke. Someone beside you is talking about their vacation. Across from you, another person is scrolling their phone while pretending to listen. And somehow, in the middle of all that noise, you feel completely invisible. Not ignored, not rejected. Invisible. Because you can feel everyone else in the room, but nobody seems able to feel you. And what nobody tells you is that this kind of loneliness has almost nothing to do with being alone. It has everything to do with emotional depth. If this channel has helped you understand yourself even a little better, please hit like and subscribe. It genuinely helps more people find this content who need it. Because a lot of sensitive people still think something is wrong with them when there isn't. Here's what most people misunderstand about empaths. Your loneliness is not always caused by isolation. Sometimes it is caused by overstimulation without emotional safety. Like a nervous system standing in the middle of a crowded city with no shelter from the storm. You learned how to read the room before you ever learned how to rest inside yourself. So even when the room is full of people, your mind is scanning micro-expressions, emotional shifts, tension in voices, hidden resentment, suppressed sadness. Your mirror neurons are firing constantly, absorbing information most people never even notice consciously. Research in neuroscience shows that highly sensitive people often process emotional stimuli more deeply through heightened activity in areas connected to empathy and awareness. And that sounds beautiful in theory, until you realize it can leave you emotionally exhausted in spaces where nobody else is truly present. One of the deepest wounds empaths carry is the experience of performing connection instead of receiving it. You become the listener, the emotional caretaker, the one asking thoughtful questions while nobody notices you have quietly collapsed inside. And after years of this, something dangerous starts happening. You stop expecting reciprocity. That is not humility. That is survival adaptation. But here's the twist. The more emotionally intelligent you become, the harder shallow interaction feels. Because your nervous system can sense emotional absence the same way the body senses a missing stair in the dark. Other people hear words. You hear disconnection underneath the words. And here is where it gets really interesting. Many empaths were conditioned in childhood to earn love through emotional labor. You became hyper-aware because unpredictability demanded it. A narcissistic parent, an emotionally unavailable caregiver, constant tension in the home. Your brain adapted like a radar tower, scanning for danger before it arrived. That hypervigilance later gets mistaken for personality, but it was originally self-protection. There is a specific kind of pain that happens when you are surrounded by people, but emotionally untouched by them. Solitude can actually feel peaceful to an empath, because at least the emotional signals are honest. But crowded rooms filled with performing, posturing, people-pleasing, and hidden resentment create cognitive dissonance inside sensitive people. Your intuition notices the split between what people say and what they actually feel. And your body carries that tension even when nobody else notices it. Imagine a house built on cracked foundations. From the outside, everything looks polished, but underneath, the structure is unstable. That is how many social environments feel to highly sensitive people. Your nervous system detects the instability before your conscious mind can explain it. This is where the real danger begins. Because many empaths start believing the biggest title of majorly works, and this is the first past the day. Because never had know the many thing, the generally believe this for covered believes. Because many empaths start missing before your own love. Because many empaths start believe this for covered believes. Because many empaths start believe this for covered believes. Because many empaths start believe. Because many empaths start believe this for covered believes. Because many empaths start believes they do interested in anything. Because many empaths start believes. Because many empaths start believe. This is where the real danger begins. Because many empaths start believe they do interested in anything. Because many empaths start believes. Because many empaths start believe. Because many empaths start believes. Because many empaths start believe. Because many empaths start believes. Because many empaths start believe. This is where the real danger begins. Because many empaths start believes. Because many empaths start believe. Because many empaths start believes. Because many empaths start believe. This is where the too much, too emotional, too intense, too affected. But that is not weakness. That is discernment. The real problem is that modern culture rewards emotional numbness and calls it confidence. Here's a fun fact that genuinely blew my mind. Studies on emotional attunement show that humans regulate each other's nervous systems constantly through tone, facial expression, pacing, and presence. In other words, your body knows when somebody is emotionally safe before your mind fully catches up. Empaths live inside that awareness every day, which means one-sided relationships do not just disappoint you emotionally, they physically drain you. And what nobody tells you is that being misunderstood repeatedly creates a kind of invisible grief. Not dramatic grief, quiet grief. The kind that slowly burns through your sense of belonging over time. You explain yourself carefully. You communicate directly. You give people chance after chance. And still, somehow, your sensitivity gets framed as fragility instead of perception. So eventually, many empaths stop speaking honestly altogether. Not because they have nothing to say, because they are tired of translating their soul into a language emotionally unavailable people can understand. Now here's the part that makes this genuinely dangerous to certain people. Your loneliness can make you vulnerable to manipulation. Because when someone finally appears emotionally attentive, it can feel like oxygen after years underwater. Narcissists and energy vampires instinctively recognize this. Not always consciously, but they recognize your openness, your patience, your willingness to understand pain. At first, it feels intoxicating. Finally, somebody sees you. But here is where it gets fascinating. What many empaths mistake for soul connection is sometimes trauma recognition. Your nervous system is not always detecting safety. Sometimes it is detecting familiarity. And familiarity can be dangerous when your early relationships normalized emotional inconsistency. So you stay longer than you should. You over-explain. You absorb blame. You try harder. You burn yourself alive attempting to save connections that were draining you from the beginning. Until one day, your body says, enough. And when an empath finally reaches that point, something irreversible happens. They choose peace, quietly, permanently, without performance. There is a stage in healing almost nobody talks about, the space between outgrowing old relationships and finding emotionally healthy ones. And that stage can feel unbearably lonely. Because once your discernment sharpens, many conversations stop feeling nourishing. You can no longer tolerate chronic superficiality. Your prefrontal cortex starts overriding old survival patterns. You notice manipulation faster. Gaslighting becomes visible. Emotional inconsistency no longer feels romantic. That is not coldness. That is clarity. A forest fire looks destructive while it burns, but certain trees actually require fire to release their seeds. Destruction becomes the mechanism for regeneration. Healing works the same way. Sometimes your loneliness is not evidence you are broken. Sometimes it is evidence your nervous system no longer wants counterfeit connection. And that can feel devastating before it feels freeing. So here's the truth nobody tells you. The reason crowded rooms can feel so lonely to an empath is because your soul was never searching for attention. It was searching for resonance. For one honest nervous system. One safe presence. One person whose words and energy match. And once you have experienced enough betrayal, enough emotional manipulation, enough one-sided relationships that left you drained and shattered, your body stops craving proximity and starts craving truth. That changes everything. Because the moment you stop begging to be included in spaces that destroy your peace, you become untouchable. You stop performing. You stop shrinking. You stop translating your pain into something easier for other people to digest. Your sensitivity transforms from a wound into immunity. And suddenly, the loneliness no longer feels empty. It feels sacred. So here's what I want to leave you with today. If you have always felt strangely alone around emotionally disconnected people, that does not mean you are defective. It may mean your nervous system has been telling you the truth long before your mind was ready to hear it. Sensitive people are often made to feel like they are too much for this world. But rare things are rarely understood immediately. If this resonated with you, tell me in the comments. Which part hit the hardest for you? Or have you ever felt lonely in a room full of people? I read every single one, and if someone in your life has been silently carrying this kind of loneliness, share this video with them. Sometimes being understood for the first time can change a person permanently.